We're outside the city of Vilkaviškis. While we're in Lithuania this time, we're going to be watching what some of the Bible workers are doing here. We'll be visiting with Pastor Runas and his little church and church group, and we'll be traveling around the country of Lithuania showing you what Laymen Ministries is doing here in this country. Laymen Ministries has a long history here in Lithuania. We actually came here in 1993, so we've been working here for, going on 15 years now. A lot of people say, well, how did you ever come to this country of Lithuania? How did Laymen Ministries get involved? And it's kind of an interesting story because I remember back in the early 90s, we were working in Albania, Romania, and Bulgaria, and I was studying, in one of my books, was sharing this idea about expanding your horizons, and I thinking, Lord, how should I expand the horizons of Laymen Ministries? And that night I went to bed, and I'm not into dreams and claiming to be a prophet or anything, but the weirdest thing happened. I was praying and said, okay, Lord, if you want us to expand our horizons, we'll do that. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I heard a voice in my head say, go to Lithuania. I'd never heard of the country of Lithuania in my whole life. And so the next morning when I got up, I was curious. I got out my atlas. And sure enough, I found up by Belarus and Poland, up in the Baltic countries, this little country called Lithuania. I go, wow, there is a country called Lithuania. And 2 days later after that, I got this phone call by a boy, and he said, hello, Jeff. He said, have you ever thought about coming to my country of Lithuania? He was a student from Weimar College. I said, well, yeah, I've actually been thinking about going to Lithuania a lot. And this young man connected me with a man called Rimas Sirbinskis, and then about 6 weeks later we had our airplane tickets and we came to Lithuania, and that was the beginning of the whole Lithuanian project.
First, we saw the need to publish literature, as books and tracts are amazing tools to reach people with the truth. We helped establish the very first Adventist publishing house with Rimas Sirbinskis. Soon we were publishing thousands of books and tracts, titles such as The Desire of Ages, The Great Controversy, Christ's Object Lessons, and more, with over 130,000 books and tracts printed over the last 15 years. We soon found we had another dilemma: how to distribute this literature. Thus, the start of Laymen Ministries Youth and Missions Program. Working together with Kevin and Kathy Page, we organized an effective work that was instrumental in church growth across the country. We sent over young people like Jonathan Peoples, Joshua Miller, Shannon Parker, and Jeremy Calkins, who trained Lithuanian youth how to sell books door to door. The program became a great success. They opened the doors in a country that had been closed by communism. These young people were the pioneers of the church, speaking in home churches, sharing the truth, and distributing literature throughout Lithuania. Lithuania is situated in northern Europe in an area called the Baltics, with Russia to the east and Poland to the south, and it has a population of about 3.5 million people. Lithuania has been one of the most occupied countries in all of Europe, yet on the other hand, in the earlier centuries when Vatatius the Great was king, it occupied the territories of present-day Belarus, Ukraine, and parts of Poland and Russia. By the end of the 14th century, Lithuania stretched across a substantial part of Europe, from the Baltic to the Black Sea. It was also the only remaining pagan country of Europe until converted by the sword to Catholicism. Today, while growing more and more secular like much of Europe, the Catholic Church is the state-recognized religion. Life in Lithuania is difficult, especially with the growing worldwide recession. Unemployment is at all-time highs. It has some of the highest rates in all of Europe for alcoholism, depression, and suicide. In the cities, people are crowded into these small block of flats, or what we call apartment house complexes. Life in the country is difficult. The people survive by growing food and keeping it in store for the long winters.
On this particular trip, we're going to show you what the Bible workers that are being sponsored by Laymen Ministries are doing, working on a one-to-one with people in their homes. Plus, we're going to take you to one of the poorest orphanages in Lithuania and share with you how we are sharing clothing and books and things like that with the children and also with the administrative staff. Only one amphitheater of society.
On this trip, we flew into Vilnius, the capital, and drove straight to the city of Kaunas to meet the Bible workers and the church leaders to hold our annual training session. Our Bible workers and pastors are located in every region of this country. Meetings like these bring new ideas and encouragement to the workers. The Bible workers cross various cultural boundaries by also reaching Polish and Russian-speaking people. Pastor Arūnas with his wife Noringa help coordinate Laymen Ministries work across Lithuania. They live in the small city of Vilkaviškis. Besides being a full-time pastor, Arūnas holds training seminars for the Bible workers and keeps in contact with them to provide encouragement and counsel. They also organize summer youth meetings and oversee the work in many of the orphanages. Arūnas also helped start this small church in the city where there had been no previous Adventist presence.
We bought it several years ago and we are remodeling every year, and last year we were working on outside the church building and we just painted it, and the roof was changed and the windows, and this year we were working inside the building.
The work is difficult as people are not very often open to new ideas, especially outside of Catholic tradition. After resting up, we drove all the way up by the Latvian border to the small village of Donore to meet with two of our Bible workers named Julius and Roma. They live on a small farm, which they use as their outposts to reach the nearby cities. They also use their farm as a quiet country retreat, holding summer and winter programs for some of the children from the nearby orphanage.
This is Julius. He say Julius, right? Julius in Lithuanian, and Roma. They've been Bible workers for Laymen Ministries for 8 years. This is their little country house. They used to come here just in the summer times, and now they're living here full-time and working out of here. And Julius is doing work as a pastor, kind of a Bible worker, layman pastor, in 2 churches in the area here. We're going to watch some of the work that they're doing here in this particular area.
Roma has Bible studies with some of the neighbors, such as this lady. They also hold group Bible studies at their home, as well as in the nearby city of Biržai. Roma shares with a neighbor friend every week in a personal one-on-one Bible study. The test of time has proven this to be one of the most effective ways of leading a person to Christ and making solid church members. Our next stop is to visit another Bible worker by the name of Daiva.
Just got to Sholay. We're at Daiva's house, and Daiva's been a Bible worker with us for how many years now? Many years, she says. So we're going to see what she's doing here while we're in Sholay, and then we'll be going to church here tomorrow morning.
Bible studies like these are happening with Laymen Ministries Bible workers all across Lithuania. These Bible studies have brought about hundreds of baptisms over the last 15 years and have been one of the most effective outreach methods in this country.
You know, they're just finishing up their Bible study here, and this is what it's all about, is the Bible workers coming into people's homes, making friends with people and sharing the Word of God. And they just got done having a Bible study about the meaning of life and the importance of the Christian experience and having a relationship with Christ and how it can give new life. And it's really, this is really what it's all about, coming here and making friends and sharing the Bible with people. Pastor Arūnas, who is the director for Laymen Ministries here in Lithuania, had a unique experience with this brother by the name of Arūnas. So both of their names are Arūnas. But Arūnas, when he was a young boy, when he was a young boy, he was an altar boy for the Catholic Church. When he grew up, like many Lithuanian people, he fell away from his faith and stopped practicing Catholicism. He became a building contractor, and he became married, and he started traveling back and forth to Norway, working over there. But he wasn't happy with his life because they were drinking and partying quite a bit, and he finally decided he wanted to make some changes. So he stopped drinking alcohol, and his wife wasn't very happy with that. And so she started living a party lifestyle, and he started pulling away from that, and she finally left him, and they went through a divorce. He came back to Lithuania, shattered, looking for work as a building contractor. It turned out the Lord led him to a situation where he was helping to remodel a Seventh-day Adventist church member's home. And one day he heard them over talking about religious things, and he started asking questions. And this led, of course, to these church members giving him several books. One book they gave him was the book Great Controversy. And he read this book, and he read several other books, and he started having questions. So he called Pastor Arūnas on the telephone, and very soon they started having Bible studies just like this. Just last year in September, water was freezing cold, he was baptized into Christ. And then after that, he started dedicating himself to helping Pastor Arūnas remodel the little church here in Vilkaviškis. And this is what it's all about. People leading people to Christ, teaching to teach, so that other people too will in turn turn around and be able to share what they've learned about Christ with somebody else.
After we left Ornore, we headed towards the city of Sholay. Along the way, we visited the historic Hill of Crosses. The history behind this spot dates back to the 18th century, when people started placing crosses here for those who were killed in the uprisings against the Russians. This hill took on more significance after World War II, when the occupying Russians tried to bulldoze the hill at least 3 times. The defiant Lithuanians used it to demonstrate their allegiance to their original identity, religion, and heritage. Today, the number of crosses is unknown, but estimations put it at over 50,000. Our ministry has a long history with this church in Sholay, as our workers, both national and from America, have had a big part in helping this church become established.
We're in the city of Sholay, and we're going to go to church here this morning. The Sholay Church has had this house that was renovated into a church for quite a number of years now. This morning the emphasis is going to be on the harvest, because it's cold and it's October and it's harvest time. And one thing you'll notice is that a lot of the people here are dressed really warm. The church isn't heated very well. Some of the places are heated pretty good, but there's been some places where we go to church on Sabbath there where you can see your breath inside the building. But they have a really active church here in Sholay. I'm looking forward to speaking to the people here today.
At first it was in the living room of a church member's house. Later the house was purchased, remodeled, and now is packed every Sabbath.
So when Christ comes for the great harvest, what is he coming for? The people? Yes. So all the people are going to be harvested?
This particular Sabbath they were having a harvest celebration. I spoke on the last great harvest and how Christ works on our hearts to have our characters come to fruition in preparation for that last great harvest. It was great to reconnect with many old friends again.
What they're doing here is something very unusual. After the church service, since this is the harvest time, they're giving food to all the church members. We have a nice arrangement here of different kinds of breads and some soy patties and tomatoes. And it's kind of different, to be honest with you.
It's been 5 years since I was in Lithuania. Missed a lot of things from here, but one of the things I missed the most is the food and the drink.
In all the countries we always travel to, we like to show you the different types of cultural foods that they prepare. And in Lithuania, one of the most famous foods is the potato. And in fact, it's very dear to my heart because I'm from the state of Idaho in the good old USA, and everybody knows that lives close to Idaho that Idaho is famous for famous potatoes. And in Lithuania, they cook a zillion different types of potato dishes, but she's going to be preparing today a dish called Cepelinai. Now, I think that it really should be called Cepelinai. For years, I always pronounced it that because I thought that the finished product kind of looked like a Zeppelin. Now, you've probably seen those big German balloons, you know, that were called Zeppelins. Well, the finished product is similar to that, and it's quite an elaborate process in how they go through preparing the potato. And Neringa is going to be peeling the potatoes first, and then she's going to show us this whole process on how they make Cepelinai, and then we're going to get to try it out. And I think you'll be surprised at the finished product. One of the first things that they do apparently is they peel potatoes, and she soaks them in some water. Part of this process is that she's going to boil some potatoes. So she's got some potatoes prepared here that she's going to boil. It's a unique combination because she's going to mix together raw potatoes and boiled potatoes, or like mashed potatoes, as you'll see here. Here you have some soft cheese. This cheese is it's what they call fresh cheese. It's a next step up from cottage cheese. It's kind of a firm, soft cheese, kind of like a feta cheese, but with no seasoning in it. And this is going to go inside the Cepelinai, and then she's going to come over here and she's going to start the process of grating. So you'll see that she's doing this, and she's going to mix this cooked mashed potatoes together with raw grated potatoes and a potato puree, which she'll be using a machine for in a little bit. So you can see it's just raw potatoes that are just whizzed up, kind of almost like what we would use in a champion juicer in the States. Interesting. So now comes the really interesting part of making this. The next step Neringa is using here is she's taking the raw potatoes that was made into a puree, and she's putting it into like a piece of cheesecloth and straining all the liquid out of it. So she's ending up with kind of like a starchy looking material here. It's just raw potato starch. It's kind of interesting looking. She just got done taking that raw potato juice that was made from the puree and poured it in this glass. And this is potato juice, this isn't beer. And I'm going to have John, our cameraman, demonstrate drinking this stuff. I'm not going to do it.
Okay, here goes.
This is raw potato juice. It's got to be at least 37 different nutrients. What do you think?
It's good.
You serious?
Might need a little salt, but other than that, it's good. It's good.
So the next step, from what I understand now, she's going to put a little salt in the fresh cheese. She's got some chopped onions. Hey, this is like an international cooking class, isn't it? And she's going to mix the cheese and the onions together and make a nice cheesy flavored filling for this. By the way, this is a really easy to digest, soft white cheese. Now, after these things are all rolled together with the stuffing inside, she carefully places them in boiling water. So in a sense, what they are is a potato dumpling. But it's the most unique potato dumpling I've ever seen in my life. And so they cook for how many minutes will you cook?
About 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes. And then you make a special sauce for the top, and then we eating, right? We're eating. She's mixing up a special sauce that has like some butter and some salt and some different things, and uses sparingly on top when you prepare the Cepelinai and put it on a plate. Some people, just like I mentioned to you, they take oil and they just dump a ton of oil on it. She's using a little bit of butter sparingly with some salt and a little bit of sour cream, and we'll make a nice flavored sauce for the top of it. This is the finished product. This is Cepelinai. Cepelinai, they call it. Delicious. Really good. And I'll tell you what, 2 of these will stick to your ribs. Today we're going to go over and meet with the director from one of the orphanages. We're loading up all this stuff to take over to the orphanages today. And when we meet the director, we're going to go over to the marketplace and buy some clothes and things. Laymen Ministries for the last probably about 12 years has been helping a number of orphanages around Lithuania, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go in and give a bunch of things away to the children in the orphanages.
The next morning we headed south about 40 miles to the small city of Cepelinai, where we met with some of the ladies who work at the local orphanage.
Yeah, it's going on.
In the larger cities, the orphanages usually receive some kind of help from other European countries, while the smaller orphanages out in the country are in a desperate situation. After meeting with the director and the administrative staff, it was decided these kids needed warm winter clothing, shoes, and other basic clothes. Together we went with some of the workers on a shopping spree to get what they needed.
These ladies are really into this orphanage. If you watch the expression on them as they're purchasing things, the one gal is going, "Oh, Gary, good, it's great, it's good," you know, because she's actually able to get some clothing for the kids. They've been having a real problem with being able to have quality clothing and to be able to have just socks and underwear and things like that. So it's nice to see that the administrative staff are really into the children, and they're not doing this just as a job, but they're doing it because their heart's into it. It's interesting because this lady is actually giving us about 5 coats for free, and she's crying. I don't know if you're noticing this or not, but she's actually got tears in her eyes, saying that she wants to help out. Apparently her son was recently killed with some kind of incident, and she's got some problems at home, and apparently she's just got a real sensitive and tender heart, and she wants to help out. So she's donating a lot of these coats, and then we're going to buy some from her too. Basically, he's going to come back and visit this lady again and give some literature to her. Okay, what's next on the list? That we're not only just buying clothes for orphans, but we're giving them spiritual literature, and this is a real open door for being able to share Christ in the orphanages with the administrative people and the kids there. In this particular orphanage, they have children that are all the way up to the age of 21 years of age, between the ages of 4, 6, all the way to 21 years of age. Oh, look at this stuff. I'm happy. I'm happy. Good. Get it.
Back in 1995, 2 missionaries who worked with Laymen Ministries, Joshua Miller and Jonathan People, saw how destitute things were in the orphanage by where they lived. They soon started searching out other poor orphanages around the country. Laymen Ministries made this an extension of our project, providing clothing, shoes, and spiritual food for their souls as well. To this day, we've continued to be involved with the ministry to these poor orphanages. Small orphanages located in the more rural areas, such as this one, struggle just to keep the heat turned on. The director told me they would literally not turn the heat on until the 1st of November. While we were there in October, the building was a chilly 55 degrees inside. The children lack basic warm clothing, undergarments, and food was limited as well. Children and staff also received from us Bibles, books, and Bible study materials. The kids at this orphanage are the outcasts of society. Most here are handicapped, born with birth defects, or have some emotional issues from poor and even abusive parenting. Many orphans are here because of their parents who are alcoholic or simply have abandoned them. The director, Mrs. Elena Downiski, showed us the giving tree of people who have donated before. On the wall was Joshua and Inga Miller's name and Pastor Arunas as well, all Laymen Ministries workers. As we walked around the facility, I was impressed that while they were poor, the building was kept clean and orderly. They had classrooms where they engaged in special activities for the children. All the children were very happy that we came, and all showed a great enthusiasm. When it came time to distribute some of the items, the kids became very excited. Other items were distributed in a more discretionary manner. Today, Laymen Ministries continues to support Bible workers and pastors, publishing literature, and Orphanage Outreach. We have a vision of expanding into radio and television broadcasts, as well as seminars held across the country. Please pray with us for this little country of Lithuania.